Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com. I want to give a shout out today to my viewers in Texas. Got a letter from Texas today I want to talk about. What in the world did you guys do to deserve weather like you've had in 2021? My goodness. I was supposed to go to a meeting down there in February that got called off because of cold weather. You know, we in the Midwest like to go to Texas in the winter to get away from the cold, and you guys were just as cold as we were with frigid temperatures. And then when I finally got down there in March, when the meeting was rescheduled, a lot of your trees that aren't used to cold weather, the leaves had turned brown and were falling off, and there were leaves blowing everywhere. It was like fall. It was weird. And then it started raining, and it's rained and rained and rained. And you guys have had a mess, which prompted my letter today from Paul, and I'll read it. And Paul asked me a question about storing a tractor, and then the advice I gave him, he figured out another little trick that I'm going to tell you about today about the built-in jack you've got on your tractor. You may not know it's there if you're new to tractors. Paul figured it out on his own. I've actually done a video about it before, but I was never able to illustrate how well it works till I got Paul's pictures. All right, let's get started. Paul says, I live in Victoria, Texas. We bought 10 acres last year for bees. Paul's a beekeeper. And a 2017 3025E John Deere for me. I've kept the tractor in a 3-walled barn just to keep it out of the elements. This year we've seen unprecedented rains, and I've learned that our property sits at the bottom of a bowl. The tractor has been sitting in water up to the bottom of the rims for about 2.5 weeks. The shredder is attached. I've got it raised out of the water. I've not moved the tractor for fear of getting stuck in the mud. If this is our last day of rain, I may be able to move the tractor out of the barn in a couple of weeks, but expect the barn to still be muddy. I was wondering what advice you might have for me. What should I check on the tractor once things dry out? We are far enough away from the coast that I'm not worried about salt water, but can't imagine that sitting in water for as long as it has been won't have some impact on the underbelly and joints. And Paul, I was really worried about your situation because you get water up to the bottom of the tractor and around the oil pan and the hydraulic oil and all that. And you get a little water in there, a little rust, you've got problems. But when I saw this picture that Paul sent me, I'm not near as worried now. And what I told him to do, I don't see anything here that's going to cause a big problem with the tractor, but let's get the water out of the bucket and let's get the front end off the ground so the water's not up to the rims. I don't think the water around the back wheels are going to make that much of a difference, and if it did, I don't know what you're going to do. But there's a real easy fix for the front wheels and rims being in the water. So what I told him to do is take the loader bucket, pick it up, turn it over so it's facing down and flat with the ground, and push it down. That's going to get the water out of the bucket. And then lift the front end of the tractor up in the air and put some blocks under it to get those front wheels off the ground. And he did that, and life is good. And then I got another letter from Paul, and Paul probably got out just a little early trying to brush hog, which I've done, and you've probably done. You know, it's been raining, you got weeds growing. Paul's got to tend to his bees, and so he's walking out slogging in weeds trying to get to his bees, so he tried to cut a trail. Let me read the second letter from Paul. And he figured out something that I've actually done videos on, but he's going to be able to, in his pictures, illustrate what I was talking about better than I ever could in a video. He says, your advice for lifting the front wheels out of the water in my flooded barn has paid dividends. It has been close to 2 months, and I hadn't been able to get my tractor out. Finally, things were dry enough today for me to bring the tractor out. Using your technique of lifting the front tires off the ground, I replaced my 4x4 posts with a couple of 2x10s I used for ramps and set the tractor back down. That got me out of my still soggy barn. I was able to mow a lot of the old pathways I'd built to get between my mesquite trees and tame the brush on the edges of my main road. I ran into trouble while mowing one side of the property that was still holding more water than I thought. Before I sunk my tractor beyond help, I retrieved my 4x4s and my 2x10s. I lifted the front end of the tractor, slid the boards back to the front tires, added a couple of more 4x4s for the back tires, and drove the tractor out of the bog and onto drier ground. One little lesson from you saved me from letting my tractor sit in the muck until it dried. Tractors are a lot handier than trucks. Oh, I agree with you, Paul. Way to go, man. You figured that out. I did a video a long time ago about what happens if you really get stuck in your tractor. You can use your front bucket to lift your tractor up and get out. And Paul figured that out, and I couldn't I couldn't tell it any better than showing Paul's pictures. So Paul, way to go there. It's kind of like having one of those Formula One cars that go into the pits and they've got jacks that go down and push the thing up just enough to get the wheels off. Yeah, you've got that with your tractor with a front end loader. So anytime you're stuck or your tractor's sitting in water, you can always lift it up and get out. The only thing I would have done different, Paul, if you're in a mucky condition like that, I would put the bottom of my bucket flat on the ground. You're not, if you turn it like you did, which is what I told you to do when you were picking it up off the floor of the barn, when you're on mucky ground, that loader can just sink down and make another rut. So put that loader flat where the bottom flat edge is on the ground, and then lift it up, and that'll give you a little more height, and it'll be a little easier on the ground where you want the grass to regrow. So way to go, Paul. I'm impressed. You figured all that out on your own, and you got out of the mess, and hopefully you guys in Texas dry out soon enough so all of you can get your brush hogging and your chores done, and you don't have to live with standing water anymore. But you guys have sure had a year. It'll get better. Appreciate you watching my videos. If you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would be honored. Click the mic face icon and check the bell so you're notified when I post future videos. Here's a link to my website and the Tractor Fun Store with unique items for the tractor owner. It helps support my channel. Here's another video you might want to watch. Thanks for watching.